Hello, everybody. This is Love from Above with your Sibling Spirit Guides. I'm Maureen, and this is my brother.
Hey Maureen, hey everyone, this is Brian.
Hey, Brian. We're so happy to be here. Can you believe it? On this podcast, we share daily channelings we receive from star beings, ascended masters, mythical beings who really exist, and occasionally our ancestors. And today's topic everyone wants to know about living longer and details from the afterlife. Brian, do you remember we read all those books by Michael Newton about what the afterlife is? And now we hear our own details from ghosts, if you can believe it.
Right, right. I think it's great. I think so many people fear death when it's really nothing to fear at all. But yes, I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, so start us off with topic number one, which is this simple practice to live longer. This is from the Watchers on October 21st of this year. Why, dearest butterfly, must you flutter about when the perfect flower offers nourishment? We understand the human capacity for multi-layered activity. However, stillness is always best. Brian, isn't that as I'm flutting around from country to country? Why, dearest butterfly, must I flutter about when the perfect flower offers nourishment? I should, boy, if I ever got a tattoo, that should be my tattoo, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so then they go on to talk about the practice of stillness. It is usually utilizing the inherent breath to slow down. Feel the earth beneath your feet, even if you're sitting on highly polished floors. Crunch your toes into the soft earth. This is a grounding exercise that is essential for pulling energy into your being. So again, we come back to this was the first channeling we ever did was covered the importance of grounding to the earth. This just again, we've talked about how math is a repeated topic that we learn about. Love is a repeated topic that's discussed, and connecting to the earth is a third one. Would you agree?
Yeah, and it reminds me of something I was just reading about this guy, or I actually saw I think it's something on social media, and then I saw on TV. So there's a actually NFL player for the Buffalo Bills, and he totally believes in being barefoot to ground himself and the benefits of being barefoot so much that he's in Buffalo. They had like 2 feet of snow for the game, and it showed him coming in for the game, and he's coming in from the parking lot barefoot. So that's a different
Oh my
extreme.
gosh.
But he goes everywhere. He says, well, yeah, so a lot of places make him put on like shoes or do something, but he goes everywhere barefoot. He walks everywhere barefoot. But I thought it was really interesting. So I don't do it that much.
Yeah.
We know the importance of grounding into the earth, and we've been not only told that multiple times and chastised. I've been chastised when I haven't been able to do it. So it is very important.
Yeah, they say it is required, it is required, it is required. So again, they give us the example, which they've given us to before, canary connect that, connecting to the earth is like plugging in your phone. It's your phone won't work unless you plug it in, and our bodies won't work unless we plug it into the earth. So they said, imagine you're charging one of your devices, but the device is not locked into the socket. In the same way, should you not ground yourself? Imagine you're sitting on a tree stump and pulling the energy in, receiving the energy, allowing the earth to envelop you. The same could be said for enveloping the waters of your brilliant lands or inhaling the clear air of your lands as well. In this way, you embody the earth. This practice allows you the fullest capacity of your illustrious selves. Now, this I found really interesting. They go on to say your ancient books record lifespans of hundreds of years. Those are not mistakes. those lives occurred for that long, but those people had their sockets plugged in and fully allowed the energy of the earth, the air, the water to mix with their own illustrious selves. Return to this practice, and you too shall lengthen your life form. So, isn't that interesting? Yeah, and Brian, do you want to go over the examples that I pulled up from the different ancient texts?
Yeah, and so just real quick, did they provide these or you looked up these ancient texts that's
I
known?
looked up these because
Okay.
I'm familiar with the Bible. I know how the Bible um records lots of lengthy lives, but I didn't realize that other religious texts
Yeah.
did as well. So I asked ChatGPT, and this was the results from
Oh, there you
ChatGPT.
go. Very good. So it says, yeah, from the Bible, the quote is, "Thus all the days of Methuselah were 969 days, 969 years, and he died." Genesis 5:27. Also from the Bible, "Thus all the days that Adam lived were 930 years, and he died." Genesis 5:5. In Taoism, Peng Zhu is a legendary figure who lived for over 800 years. In Avesta, uh, Zoroast, how do you say that? Zoroastrian text?
Zoroastrian.
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 Yeah. Yima is a legendary king who lived for over 1,000 years. He reigned during a golden age of abundance and harmony. And from the Quran, we certainly the quote is, "And we certainly sent Noah to his people, and he remained among them 1,000 years, less 50 years." But Maureen, we've read in books that we'd said that people used to live exactly like this, hundreds and hundreds of years, that 800, 900, 1,000 years, and in the past. I can't recall which book exactly, but I know this is not news to me. I don't know. Do you recall where we've read that in the past?
I do recall reading this, but I thought this was interesting because like I said, I knew the Bible. Um, one of my famous childhood quotes, I used to read the Bible a lot as a child. I didn't realize it was a religious text, and I actually asked my aunt, who's a nun, if she had ever read it. So I knew it was in the Bible, but I didn't realize that other texts, and if you look at, they're all living about 1,000 years. So it's just really, really interesting that they're living, for so long. And the key is just a simple practice of connecting to the earth, uh, you know, grounding to the earth, walking barefoot in Buffalo. So, I expect that guy to be living 1,000 years or close to it. So yeah, it's just riveting information.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so I'll go into topic two, which is even better. Everyone wants to hear about this, right? Details from the afterlife. You may wonder as to the nature of our beings. We are seen forevermore as loving reflections of those who came before us. We may be called apparitions or ghostly figures. However, these shadows are figments of the imagination of those that see us. We are not lost, but found. We hover near those who will require assistance, usually those which we held a deeply bonded, cherished love. You are right to consider the lower astral forms as coarser vibrations to be generally avoided. However, we are from the higher realms. So let's stop there. So who was this from when do you remember, or do you remember the background
This
on
is
this?
from Ghost. These are from ghosts. So that's what they're
Okay.
talking about,
Yeah.
that they are shadows, figments of the imagination. They're help people that they're deeply bonded with, cherished love. Um, and I this I don't I didn't put down the date of this. Oh, I think it was on I don't rem I think it was on the same date. So it was October 21st. So the veil between the worlds does thin. and it sits at the thinnest point on Halloween and the Day of the Dead. So it's no surprise that I was able to channel from ghosts. But yeah, so this is really interesting. So I'll go on with what they say next, which is what happens after you die? Yes, tell us what happens after you die. The question is what happens when you live? People assume that the same process occurs for every person, which we do. We've all heard the stories about the tunnel of light and different religions believe different things. I'm in an Islamic country right now. They have their own, paradise that they visualize, for our Islamic followers. It's heaven for, Christians and people. A lot of people have a very detailed visual of what that looks like. But they said just as every life is unique, every passing from this life is unique as well. Each journey is carved and curated for the individual to match the individual's desired needs. Let's assume that you're a baby. All babies need to be held, loved, fed, and clothed. The same basic principles apply in the reverse from when you pass. There are certain requirements that are made for each individual. These are the same for all who pass through the hallowed halls of existence, but the individual journeys are always unique. What happens to your father is not the same thing that happens to your mother, even though they may have been bonded in matrimony for many decades. So I'll stop there. Like, gosh, I've never thought about that, Brian. And we've read a lot of books about the afterlife, and it's always like everybody goes through the same procedure. And I guess they're saying that there are basic tenets of every life journey after death that is the same, but it's just like each life is unique, each death is unique. Have you ever read anything about that?
I have, and I can't remember what book, but I've read also where, there's although, hell as we know it on TV or in books and stuff doesn't exist, but if people really believe that they belong in hell, then they sort of put themselves in a sort of state, even though it doesn't really exist. So it's exactly what you want it to be, So um, I've read things. Haven't you read some things like that about?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
The only thing I can think of is this joke that I heard long ago, and it was, I don't know, it was like someone was getting a tour of heaven, and it was like level one was all the dogs, level two was all the cats, and level three was everybody else, and like level four was all the Catholics, and whoever's getting the tour was like, why is level four just for the Catholics? And whoever was giving the tour, St. Peter said, because they think that they're the only ones who are in heaven.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but I don't know. I mean, this was new for me. And yeah, I'll tell you at the end, but this was really a light bulb moment for me, an aha moment. But do you want to continue on with what they had to say?
Sure. So they said, what we can tell you about the other worlds is that just as in life, you have multiple choices. Each choice opens up new opportunities. The same applies for you with your so-called death. In this way, the habitual practices that you make in making wise choices and centering yourself within the love and the light of the one creator. With listening to your own inner voices as opposed to those that screech and scream from your cellular device. These will steer you well as you pass from this world. So there's a range of choices one can make. One of which is to stay within this astral realm. We of the apparitions are not to be feared or loathed or pitied. We have made these choices and could make choices to alleviate our circumstances should we choose. We communicate now to explore the modalities of death. One truth after life expires is that the light envelops all. This shall be more true for a soul deeply mired in the dark darker realms where more light is required to provide homeostasis. It would be as if your beaker were already full if you were filled with the divine light and required little additional nourishment. So yeah, that is interesting. So I mean, that's the commonality between them is the love and the light of the one creator. But there's different options depending on sort of where you are in your journey, I'd say, huh?
Yeah, and the big aha moment that I had from it, and this was true in all those Michael Newton books that we read. So this Michael Newton was did hypnosis, and it didn't matter. It was kind of like the Dolores Cannon works, where it didn't matter who he was doing hypnosis on, but they all told the same thing about the afterlife. And it was basically like we were assigned with our soul groups and we were reviewing our life and looking at the life choices that we made and learning to grow in love and light. And it just, so getting this message, it just realized that it's just a constant process of, learning and growing and in the love and light. Like it just, and death does not end that process. Death does not end that process at all. It just morphs into a different form. So like moving into a new house. Um, so yeah, that was my takeaway from this. Did you have a special takeaway?
Yeah, I know that it's sort of unique to every individual based on, like you said, based on your religion and what you believe in. But the interesting thing I thought it says is that, you know, um, there's different opportunities that, based on your deaths. I never really thought of it that way. So I think that's sort of interesting. But, the biggest thing is nothing to fear, right? I mean, we're all eternal, right? This is so that's I think so many people are focused on the negative and just they fear death so much that when there's really nothing to fear something. But I'll let you talk about that in the next topic. Why don't you go into that?
Yeah, so I did a search for through our database for other times where death was mentioned. And one of the ones that came through was January 27th by an unknown speaker. And it said, to examine one's own life is to reveal a masterpiece created with you and those surrounding you. For as is plainly evident, you are never alone. You are always surrounded by loving beings. For nothing is static, everything lives. We wish to remind you of one of the basic tenets of all principles of life, and that is growth. Everything moves forward, even death is an ascension to a higher realm for a review of the past life courses. So again, death is just, it's just an ascension. I always view death as like graduation. Like when I'm done with my work on this planet, when I'm done, I get to graduate and I get to move on. And I've been to the other side, and let me tell you, it's definitely not anything to fear. The first time I went over, I was like, what the heck am I doing here? What the heck am I doing here on this planet? Get me over there. That's where I want to be. So I've actually been looking forward to my graduation for a long time. But I think I told you in one of the sessions that I've channeled, like, because I am ready to graduate. And they're like, no, you've got like 3 decades more. You've got a lot more work to do. So I'm going to be around for a while, brother.
Good to know. Good to know. Well, yeah, I mean, the other thing I think a lot of the books we've read, the comments are the heaviness of the physical body and to be free of that and in the love and the light of, the one creator and all your loved ones. That's just the special part of that death that everyone says is so magnificent. So,
Yeah,
um,
here's what it is. It's love. It's
yeah.
just love. It's just immense. It's just being enveloped in this just immense and powerful love, more than anything you've ever experienced on this planet. more than the love you have for your pet, your children, your spouse. It's just this immense love. So, yeah, who wouldn't want to be bathed in that, like for every moment of existence? Yes, please. Yeah, so I came back and I was like, what the You know? But I'm glad that I have the opportunity to go over on the other side and experience it because sometimes you need to feel it. There was one mother that mentioned a death briefly, and this was on October 13th from our good friend, the Watchers. They said the first fact is that humans are created to be more. The physical frame is ascended, whether by a natural ending or a spiritual awakening. Both provide opportunities to transcend. The latter was not only selected in the past, however, it's becoming more frequent as time courses by. I just finished Autobiography of the Yogi. I read it for the second time. And a lot of those Indian guru yogis, they did not, they transcended, kind of like
Right,
Mary's Ascension.
right, right.
And so you don't have to die. And I read one book during COVID, and I really set the attention there. They were like, why would you die? Because when you die, you go through the veil of forgetting, and then you have to start all over again. And if you don't die, you ascend, then you keep the knowledge that you're more likely to retain the knowledge that you've built up in this lifetime. And they were like, this is absolutely, totally a possibility. And that was a Buddhist text that I was reading. So again, this goes across Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism. You don't have to die. You can you can be like Mother Mary and ascend. What do you think about that, brother?
Yeah, I remember that from some of those yogi autobiography of yogi in those type of books, and that yeah, they had amazing. They could just once they felt their work was done, they would just ascend and leave their body. So that that I'm not there yet, Maureen, but hopefully one day, hopefully one day that's
Well, we
possible.
got a couple more decades to work it out. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, let's just set that intention right now that both of us just, we don't have to go through the process of death. We ascend and just become enveloped in light. Neither one of us have a fear of death. We know it's just merging, back into the whole in a more complete way. And yeah, why not ascend as opposed to die? I don't know, something to think about.
definitely. So I'll just read the closing here. That I like the closing you had. So this is from October 13th. It says, "You shall rest always in the cradle of the arms of the one Creator. The material physicality of the world may differ from era to era, but the essential bonding process remains intact throughout all time."
Aw, isn't that beautiful? Yeah, let's just all visualize ourselves in the cradle of the arms of the one creator.
There you go.
Yeah, so I hope this has provided insight for all of those who are listening. Any more final thoughts, brother?
No, it's a good one. Appreciate it. We'll talk to y'all next time.
Okay, thank you.